Let's continue with section 8.1. Find the markup and selling price for a hooded sweatshirt if the cost is $23.60 and the markup is 45% of cost. Let's take those as they were given. Cost is $23.60. Over here where the dollar signs are, I'll put $23.60 in the cost row. Markup is 45% of cost. That actually tells me two things. That tells me here in the markup row, I put 45% in the percentage section. It also tells me because the markup is a percentage of cost, markup is a percent of cost. That tells me that cost is 100%. So cost is what we're using as our base. So here in the cost row, I'll put 100%. I can then go on and complete the column for percentages by adding straight down. 100% plus 45% is 145%. That's telling me that the selling price is 145% of cost. Now I need to start to work to solve and find one of these other two blank sections. I like to make that middle row into an equation. Markup is 45% of cost. Again, they told us that the markup is 45% of cost. Filling in what I know, I don't know the markup dollar amount, I'll leave it M, is equal to 45% of is our multiplication, and I'm going to use the cost value of $23.60. Now I have M for markup is, I'll convert my 45% into a decimal, 0.45, and then multiply that by the cost of $23.60. Here the variable is already by itself on the left. Multiplying these two together, I have $10.62. And I can put that into my chart. Then to finish, we can add straight down our cost, $23.60, plus our markup of $10.62 gives us a total of $34.22. Let's try question 8. Olympic Sports places a markup on an iron barbell set of $16. Let me put that in my chart right away. On the right side of markup is our dollar sign, and I'll put a 16 there. And it also says the markup is, so it says the markup is $16, which is 50% based on cost. This is also telling us our markup is 50% of cost. In the markup row, I'll put the 50%. That also tells me if our percentages of cost, next to the cost, I can put 100%. Find the cost and selling price. So we're going to find these other values that are missing. Looking straight down the first column, we can take 100% plus 50% is 150%. I can also use that middle row again. Markup is 50% of cost. That tells me my markup dollar amount of 16 is equal to 50% of cost, so we're going to multiply by cost. And the next row, I tend to change that 50% into a decimal, 0.50 times cost. To get our cost alone, I need to divide by 0.50. And in that last row, I get that the cost is $32. I can put that in our chart. And then that helps me add straight down to find out that our markup is $48. Find the cost and the selling price. We did that. Let's try question 9. REI sells a lightweight sleeping bag for a very cold weather for $308. If the markup on cost is 40%, let me go ahead and put in what they've given us so far. REI sells the sleeping bag. This is the cost to the customer. So the selling price is $308. It also tells us the markup on cost is 40%. So in that markup row, I'll put 40%. Since our markup is on cost, that tells us that 100% is for cost. Find the amount REI pays for the sleeping bag, which is basically the REI cost. We can go straight down that first column that says 100% plus 40% is 140%, or the selling price is 140% of cost. In this case, I'm going to show you that typically I take that middle row and make that an equation. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to show you why it's not going to help us in this case. Let me write it. Markup is 40% of cost. I don't know my markup dollar amount. I'll leave that M is equal to 40%, and then of cost would be times cost, and we don't know our cost either. So this is an equation that has two variables, and I don't have any other information to be able to solve. Right now, this one's not going to help me. What I am going to do then is I'm going to go back and I'm going to try to find a row that is completely filled in. This bottom row makes the sentence, selling price is 140% of cost. Once they tell us that the markup is on cost, all of these percentages are on cost. Selling price dollar amount is $308 is equal to, let me go ahead and change 140% into its decimal equivalent of 1.40. And of cost, I don't know cost. Of means our multiply, so I'm going to multiply by variable C. To solve this, I need to get the C variable alone. I'll divide by the 1.40. And I end up with $220. Cost is $220. Then we can either use backwards working subtraction, or we can use the equation cost plus markup equals selling price and fill in the cost and the selling price and solve it for the markup. But notice again, you're using subtraction. And I end up with a markup of $88. Let's work on one last question to end section. The retail price, which is the price for the public, this would be the selling price, okay, of a portable basketball hoop is $459.99. The retailer has operating expenses as 29.5% and wants a 5.5% profit. Both are percentages of cost. Find the total markup on cost and then find the cost and the markup. Okay. I'm going to put together our operating expenses and our profit. $29.5% of cost, and profit is 5.5% of cost. Because they're both of cost, we can combine them together, and all of this is our markup. Remember, the markup pays for our expenses and anything extra, and adding these together, we get 35% of cost. That can now go into our chart. It also lets us know that since it's of cost, that tells us that our cost percent is 100%. So it really tells us two things there. And then we can finish that first column to get 135%. This is another situation where we have that last row filled in. So I'm going to take that last row and make it into an equation. Selling price is, I'm going to need a little bit more space here. Maybe I'll abbreviate S for selling price, is 135% of cost. So let's fill in what we know. The selling price is $459.99 is equal to, let's change that 135% into a decimal, 1.35. Of is times, and the cost we don't know yet. To find that variable C, we'll divide by 1.35 on both sides of the equation. And when I work with the division, I end up with $340.73 for cost. And then we can work backwards with subtraction, or we can use that last equation, cost plus markup equals selling price, and fill in what we know. And we end up needing to use subtraction to get the markup alone. With our subtraction, I have a markup of $119.26. So we found everything they wanted. The total markup on cost, we got that. The cost, we got that. And the markup, we found that. And that ends section 8.1.